Hello, welcome to my channel. It's Christopher Taylor with Sovereign Harmony Astrology. Thanks for joining me. We're going to talk about the month of April, and it is a quick moving month after some sluggish energy we've had to start the year. We got the year of the fire horse that wants to kick in, and this is the month when it really does. Okay, so we got all planets direct. That's a big deal. Okay, they'll be direct till about May 6th. That's when Pluto will turn retrograde. But for now, all planets are direct, and they've been direct since March 20th when Mercury turned direct. And since that time, so this is March 19th, April 6th, we've had Saturn sextile Pluto. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about here. So that'll be with us for a few days into April. And that is a powerful connection. Saturn sextile Pluto, so it's to the outer planets connecting. There's Saturn in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, about 5 degrees or so is where the exact sextile happened. And so this is a next step essentially, as far as major aspects go. These two planets joined each other in Capricorn, okay, around 22 degrees Capricorn back in January of 2020. Okay, so that's Saturn, Pluto, Capricorn. This is where that lockdown energy came from. And I knew that going into 2020. I actually talked about that in my 2020 forecast, that there would be some kind of government press down for some reason. I didn't know it was going to be a virus, but that's what ended up happening. Okay, so they took advantage of a virus to put the ratchet up in terms of government force and control that happened there. But now this kind of opening, this sextile, this opportunity, it's putting the power back in our hands. That's Pluto in Aquarius, and putting it in our personal responsibility. That's Saturn in Aries. So it's our personal responsibility to wield our individual power as a society to not allow that kind of lockdown to happen again. Okay, so very powerful energy. It's kind of in the background, but it is setting in. And so on a personal level, we really are really just kind of putting the intention out there to take responsibility again for our power. So we also have the south node of the moon at 7 degrees, within a couple degrees of being an exact yod. A yod is when you have a sextile on one end, and then the midpoint of that sextile over here on the other side of the chart, that is the apex of a yod. Okay, that's the finger of God is what it's called. So if you have any planets, say 5 degrees Virgo plus or minus a couple degrees, that's going to, be the apex of a yod between this Saturn Pluto sextile. So that personal responsibility for individual power is especially important and for anchoring in terms of the service that you were doing in this world. So that planet, whatever you have there, that's going to be important there. As far as the south node being there collectively, this is basically saying that we're severing ourselves from the past, essentially. Okay, and so what we do here going forward is based on a new paradigm of, again, individual responsibility and personal power. Okay, so very, very, very intense, important energy. Next thing on the list, we have the full moon in Libra. Today is March 31st. Tomorrow, then will be the full moon at April 1st. It's not an April Fool's joke. It will be in Libra, 12 degrees. So there's the moon at 12 degrees Libra. There's the sun at 12 degrees Aries, opposite that. And this will pull in that sextile between Saturn and Pluto. Okay, because Saturn's close enough to the sun, Pluto's within orb of this moon, so that really pulls that in. Okay, and I'm gonna pull Neptune in there as well, just because it's close enough. Okay, and it's part of that greater conjunction, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which was again on February 20th that reset of societal evolution. And this full moon is squaring Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter went retrograde in Cancer from November until March 10th here. So just recently it turned direct. And so we've got a lot of emotional growth, a lot of emotional healing going back into the past, etc. And so the way I see this is a test of our balance. Libra has to do with balance. Okay, so the only way you can really test for balance is to be pushed out of balance. So something coming outside of us in our lives this week and into next week, really, this is really the first half of April, this energy kind of covers, is, there's going to be tests of our balance. Something will push us out of balance. Someone may push us out of balance. So we're going to be testing those boundaries, testing that personal responsibility that we've been setting with Saturn and Aries, okay? And that role that we play in the greater society with Pluto in Aquarius. So expect some tests here, again, this week and next week, to make sure that we are firmly established in these new boundaries, okay? Also, the ruler of this full moon is, the ruler of Libra is Venus, and there's Venus in its domicile, as they say. So domicile just means it's another planet or another sign that the planet rules. So Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So it happens to be the ruler of this full moon and in its other domicile in Taurus. So very stable, stabilizing, all about resources. It's stabilizing our hearts in a way. Okay. And that is squaring that Pluto. Okay. And it's going to be an exact square a few days after, I think on Friday, April 3rd, it'll be exact. And so that is asking us to really make some decisions on a heart level, what is worth it to us and what is not worth it to us anymore. Okay, what do we value versus what is not valuable enough to take with us from here forward. So there can be some very important decisions in terms of relationships, our finances, whatever we need to make decisions on here, what to leave behind so that we could focus on what we move forward with. So again, and that is part of that test of our balance. Like how firmly are we established in our new boundaries? Can something just come in and take us outside of that? Right. And so that's what this is going to show us, is that those things that tempt to come in and take us out of that balance, it's time to let those go. Okay. So it's a lot about letting go. Next up on our list, we're about to get into fifth gear here. So if you think of when Mercury turned direct on March 20th, that was the equinox. And we're in this fire horse year since February 17th. And it's a 1 year. Okay. So it's like this year just really wants to take off. And this Mercury retrograde from about mid-February until now-ish has really kind of made sure that we have gone over some things, cleaned up the mess from the whole Neptune in Pisces for 14 years and Saturn in Pisces for 3 years, and to make sure that we are ready to go fully forward. But that process is over now as we head into mid-April, when Mercury exits its shadow at 22 degrees Pisces. It went retrograde at 22 degrees Pisces in late February. And now it's going to come back to that point. Okay, my sun is actually 22 degrees Pisces. On a side note, and Mars will also enter Aries that day. Mars is in its domicile in Aries, just like Venus is in its domicile in Taurus. So we're going to have two planets in the signs that they rule. This has a lot to do with stabilizing and focus and forward direction in a lot of ways. So everything that this Mercury retrograde has not been, it's been very vague and tough to get clarity over the last couple of months. That's going to clear up with Mercury ending its shadow, and then Mars entering Aries. It's going from like second gear to fifth gear in a lot of ways. Okay, so from like April 9th, especially until about May 5th, before Pluto turns retrograde, it's about a 4-week period of just full steam ahead in a lot of ways. And so we'll look at that here. So they're actually fairly close to each other. Mars enters Aries, they're at 0 degrees. There's going to be Mercury at 22 degrees, almost 23 degrees Pisces when it exits its shadow. So this is really switching that gear for sure. So things can take off in ways that we were not expecting. Okay. And going back to that whole idea of balance with the full moon, how balanced are we, and how anchored are we in our new boundaries? Because life is going to come at us fast, and we've got to make sure we stay in our place, essentially, that we've discovered. Then we have the new moon on April 17th at 27 degrees Aries, and this is just amping up that fifth gear kind of energy. Okay, so there's the new moon, 27 degrees of Aries. It looks like it's in Taurus, but it's they just can't fit all these Aries planets on this chart here. But that's actually at 27 degrees with Chiron. Okay, so very close conjunction to Chiron, and the ruler of this new moon is Mars. Mars is the ruler of Aries. It's in Aries, and it's pulling in Saturn, Mercury, and Neptune. Okay, so this is like this taking that new stage of societal evolution with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we had February 20th, aligning our thoughts and our actions, and just leaping forward, even if it hurts. So that's that Chiron part. So we've been dealing with Chiron in Aries since 2018. Okay, and it's really taught us a lot about our capabilities and our perceived doubts in our capabilities. And so we've done a lot of healing on that level. And so this new moon is about forcing us to face that. So whatever we've learned since 2018 with Chiron and Aries, it's a launching pad now, because life is ready to move. Okay, and so we might not be completely healed. We're never completely healed if we're still alive, right? But this is just saying, like, whatever. It's time to launch this launch ourselves as an individual into this world on a new note. And yeah, we're going to deal with some stuff that comes up that says, oh, I can't do this. I'm not ready for this. I'm not whatever for this. Well, you are, because it's time. And so it really is kicking things into high gear for real. Okay. And, Pluto also gets pulled into this as well. It's going to be an Mars will be an sextile to Pluto there. So again, it is about aligning ourselves with the transformation of society. Okay. And it is this new moon itself is widely squaring that Jupiter in Cancer. We already know Jupiter in Cancer is involved with the full moon in the, testing our balance, testing our emotional growth and whatnot. So this just takes it a little bit further with that emotional growth, just to make sure that, hey, you got to go at some point, and this is a time to go. It's like jump in the pool now or never kind of thing. Okay. Then we get this very interesting aspect I noticed here coming up around April 19th and 20th. So just after the new moon in Aries, we're going to have Mercury, Mars, and the Sun all at around 8 degrees Aries. So you can see that right there. So they're all, 7, 8 degrees, make their conjunctions right around 8 degrees Aries. And that is also widely squaring Jupiter in Cancer. So again, furthering that test of our emotional growth, etc. But this is very interesting because right as we're launching, right, with that new moon in Aries, and ready or not launching, right, because the Chiron is there, there is a sense of really aligning our actions. That's what Saturn and Mars wants to do, wants to align our actions with our thoughts. Okay, this whole triple conjunction. So we're committing to a certain level of action, and it's like we're all in mentally for it. It's like we've decided, we're going, and we're committed. Okay, so whatever this is, whatever comes into our lives here in mid-April or whatever it is, when we switch things into high gear, within a week or so, we're already kind of like saying yes, saying, this is like a hard yes, or if it's a hard no, there's something else. There's a reason why there's a hard no. In other words, there's going to be a yes behind the hard no. Okay, so there's something we want to say yes to here and commit to here and move with here. Okay, and we're all in. Okay, so that's a very interesting note. My ruling planet Mercury is actually at about 8 degrees, so I'm going to have my Mercury return at that time. So that'll be very interesting as well. But just know that we'll be committing to a certain action in our, we're mentally all in on it at that point. So April's a surprise month. It's really going to bring in some stuff. And then to top it all off, then we have Uranus entering Gemini on April 25th. Geez, we already have the other outer planets, which is going to be Neptune in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, and now we have Uranus entering Gemini. It was there for a little bit here in 2025, but it moved back to Taurus. So it's finishing up with Taurus in the next few weeks, and on April 25th, it will enter Gemini, and this is when things speed up even more. So if there's a sixth gear, guess what? We're entering that by the time we get to the end of this month, okay? And the ruler of Gemini, so the ruler of this of this movement into Gemini here with Uranus is Mercury. That's still in Aries, and that's squaring again Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer wants to keep coming up here. So we have grown all that we can on an emotional level, and it is just time to go. Really, is what this is saying. Life is like there's been preparation, but we are at the stage where it is go time. Okay, so just to review, all planets direct the entire month. We're coming off this Saturn sextile Pluto, very important for aligning our personal responsibility with our individual power. Full moon in Libra, testing our balance, testing our emotional growth. End of the Mercury shadow and the Mars's entrance to Aries kicks us into fifth gear. New moon, it's go time, whether it hurts or not, whether we think we're ready or not, we are. And so it's just time to jump in the pool. And then we've got, this committed decision, this committed action that we make here shortly after that new moon. And then Uranus enters Gemini and all hell breaks loose. So lots of information coming in and all that good stuff. So testing balance, heading into fifth gear and aligned action by the time we get to the end of the month. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If you want to see how all this fits in your chart for April, you can contact me for a personal reading. I do those as well. Other than that, please catch me on the hill when I do my weekly updates. Follow me on Facebook if you want more semi-daily written forms of updates. Those are always great. So feel free to follow me there. So you can follow me on Facebook, Sovereign Harmony Astrology. You can follow me on TikTok, on Instagram, and here on YouTube as well. Other than that, if you don't have any questions, please do like, subscribe, comment if you have any comments here, and I will get back to you. Other than that, I will see you up on the hill weekly, or I will see you next month for May. Thank you and take care.